turning an avoidant attachment style into a secure attachment style. This is what we're going to talk about today. My aim is that this is a full guide, this video. I first of all want to talk about the symptoms and what is it like and what are characteristics of people who are having an avoidant attachment style. Then I want to talk about the reason. So why are you that avoidant, which can be found in the childhood. I want to talk about common patterns, the way you got raised. I think that's very important to understand the origin of where this is coming from. And then lastly, talking about action steps, how to heal, how to become more secure. And there are a couple of things you can do, and I want to share those as well. So first of all, you probably already did some research, otherwise you wouldn't click on that video, so you know what it means to have an avoidant attachment style. But to go a little bit deeper. So first of all, obviously, you are emotionally more distant than others, especially when we're talking about relationships. You even come across cold. Maybe people gave you this feedback. You're having a poker face, you're not really showing what you're actually feeling. Just come across distant. People cannot really estimate your needs. They don't really know whether you really love them, whether you really like them, because you are more distant in all kind of contact you're having. Maybe even also physical. Maybe you're not so much the physical touch person. Could be also. Generally, though, you're independent and you like spending time on your own. Potentially also some people are looking up to you because you are so independent, especially people with an anxious attachment style. That's why anxious attachment style people and avoidant attachment style people are often find together. Often people who have this anxious attachment style look up to you because you are so independent. You can spend time on your own and you're fine with that. You don't need anybody to prove you. But also you're not so good at revealing your needs, sharing what you actually want. And that sometimes made people not really trust you, because you're such a poker face, so distant, you're not really sharing what you want. They cannot really estimate that, they don't trust you. And basically this entire strategy that you're doing right here is that actually deep within, let's already get to the core, is that you are afraid to opening up, to be close emotionally, to share your own needs and emotions, because this would mean that you would make yourself vulnerable. And basically this avoidant attachment style is a protection mechanism to protect yourself from being hurt. Because you learned this already in your childhood, that being so close and opening up so much can hurt, and you should not do that. Though people with an with an avoidant attachment style, in their careers, they choose jobs where they are very independent and they have a lot of autonomy, and they also often seek a lot of challenge. Also, people with an avoidant attachment style are often confident, and all of that, choosing those jobs with a lot of autonomy and challenge and also being confident makes it more likely that you are actually quite successful in your career. You also don't mind working a lot, and potentially you even do work a lot. You don't mind that, and actually you even like it, and maybe you even work so much because this rescues you from needing to spend so much time, for example, with your girlfriend or with other people, and create and build such a deep emotional trust and bonding, because you don't want to do that so much. You don't feel so much comfortable with that. And that's why you more spend time on work, where you don't need to show your deep emotional side. You just need to be productive and communicate effectively and do your job right. And that's what you feel very comfortable doing. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about your childhood and where this is coming from. Now, there are multiple reasons, so we cannot just have one big picture reason for why you are the way you are. There are multiple reasons, but generally in your childhood, you could, for example, have experienced little support by your parents, maybe your mother or your father. And maybe those, your mother and father, your parents have also been quite avoidant in their attachment style. Maybe they were not very good at showing emotions. It's also important theme here, how your parents managed their own emotions. So did they open up? Did they cry? Did they show emotions? Could they be vulnerable? So did you see that? Also, how did your parents, your mother and your father, react with each other? Could they be honest and real and show love to each other and hug each other? Have they even been present? You might know maybe your parents divorced early on. And also, when you got angry, when you were crying, when you showed emotions, when you showed yourself being vulnerable, how did they react then? Could they deal with that? Could they contain this pain that is there? Could they really go up to you and connect deeply? Or have they themselves actually be uncomfortable with that? Those are all important factors that made you basically learn in your childhood, first of all, maybe emotions are not wanted. Maybe they even didn't like it when you show emotions. Maybe they told you to shut up. Maybe they told you to man up and not show emotions. And you learned, if I show emotions, I get hurt, or I'm not being loved. Or simply you didn't learn how to do that because your parents never did that. Maybe they simply also didn't really care about you. Maybe this feeling also evolved. Yeah. Maybe you have siblings, and there could be also quite different reasons why you're having avoidant attachment style. Maybe you're the firstborn, and maybe you had to take responsibility very on. It's called parentification, that you had to grow up very early on and take responsibility and not really could allow yourself to be emotional and be that child because you had to man up quite early. Maybe you were like a sandwich sibling, or somewhere in the middle, and your parents somehow didn't really pay attention too much because there's the small one who needs care, and then there's the oldest one who's always like doing everything the first time, like the first one who's going to high school, the first one who's studying or whatever, and he also needs attention, and you are kind of like in the middle, left behind. And that's why you also maybe develop this avoidant attachment style. Or maybe, it's always different in different families. Maybe you're the small one in the family, and you were kind of like part of the family, but not really involved because you're so small and you're like 3 years younger than your other sibling. And they didn't really focus so much on you. That could be also the reason that you then also developed an avoidant attachment style. But in other families it's the other way around. Maybe you're the small one and they super much took care of you. Or maybe you have a younger sibling and they took a lot of care of them because he's the small one, he needs protection, and he had a lot of like bonding and close bonding, and he developed a different attachment style. Could also be. So different families, different stories. But again, basically you either didn't learn how to handle emotions because your parents never displayed them, or you learned that you get punished if you show vulnerability. And your parents really couldn't manage emotions very well, and they were maybe very much over the top. Something in this direction. Now, I'm telling you this not so you can blame your parents. Your parents also had parents and they grew up in a certain way, and they got shaped in a certain way. Nobody is perfect, that's just the way it is. But helping to understand that is very powerful, especially later on if you're going to do some deep inner work with yourself. It's very important to understand why you are the way you are. So it's not about blaming anybody here. It's not about that. It's too late for that. And also, maybe at some point, or maybe you are already having children, you're also not going to be the perfect father or mother. You're also going to do things not the right way. And that will affect your child for sure. So not do the blaming thing. It's not going to help you to change. But let's actually talk about things that can help you. I have a couple of steps here, actually 4 steps I want to talk about. The first one is, what we already right now did, is awareness. Basically awareness hacking, I call it. If you name it, you tame it. So calling it out, why are you the way you are? How the past shaped your present, but also how you're acting right now in the present moment. So these days, what's your style? Understand that. If you have a partner, want you to talk with your partner about that. What are your attachment styles? Your partner's, your attachment style, how are you communicating? Where do you see that? And just become more and more aware of that, get feedback and understand it. Because again, if you name that, you tame that. So simply by becoming aware of it, it helps you already to behave differently. It's very important. You know, maybe your girlfriend or boyfriend says something like, yeah, you're right, sometimes I'm like that. And then you're in a new situation a couple of days later, it's exactly the same happens again. And maybe you can even make a joke about it and be like, I'm struggling again. Come on, let me try. Let me give you a hug. Let me be there for you. So awareness is key and crucial. I know that's such a cliche thing to say, but actually understanding this and be more detailed and understand how you react in which situations and what are the certain triggers and when you feel uncomfortable. Very important. And again, you're hurt. You're not bad. Because, you know, people with an avoidant attachment style sometimes come across bad. They don't have any interest. They're assholes. But it's not the case. You're just hurt, and that's a style that you're having to be more detached, and you're simply uncomfortable to be close. Yeah. The second one is, action step is compassion. That's connected to awareness, because I don't want you to judge yourself. I want you to also simply see that little child within you that got hurt. Don't put yourself down. It's very important. Compassion. And then understand the benefits of a secure attachment style. Understand what you're missing out on. Understand the type of relationships that maybe you're never building these days. And understand how helpful it can be and how relaxed those conversations could be, or how much more loving your relationships could be if you're developing a secure attachment style. You know, these days with this avoidant attachment style, you're having this fear reflex. You know, I'm afraid, let's maybe not actually open up so much, let's more be distant, let's work a little longer and not have this deep, loving connection and talk about my emotions. And this fear reflex was very helpful in the past, but it's not appropriate nowadays anymore. And I want you to understand that you can do so much better. So do research on secure attachment styles, do research on attachment style in general, and learn about the benefits. And lastly, it's very tangible, is to train your brain. I want you to do all those uncomfortable things. I want you to, when your partner cries, to keep the eye contact, to look at that, to be there for your partner. I want you to value emotions more, not judge your partner if he or she is getting more emotional or talking about their emotions. I want you to open up to your desires and communicate them. How uncomfortable. Make yourself vulnerable in the right situation where your brain tells you, yes, I can be vulnerable here, but your emotions are a bit hesitant. Open that up with your partner. And again, communicate with your partner and talk with them about attachment styles. Basically do all the things that you feel like a little bit like, oh, it's like cringe. I don't want to do this. This is too close for me. And let's stay there for a bit and see how it feels. And you will notice your heart is actually opening up. And you're feeling emotions that you've probably never felt before. And that's beautiful. And that means that you're also developing as a human being, because you neglected this emotional side for quite a bit by simply avoiding it. That's the avoidant attachment style. And being secure means, and by the way, I don't want you to throw this away, because being secure and having a secure attachment style means that you can be independent, you're fine on your own, you have that, you keep that. But you take in an additional perspective, which is I can also allow myself to fall and rely on my partner, also emotionally, to make myself vulnerable and to feel very attached emotionally and love very closely and be there for somebody very closely. And tell them that I love them. So both of that means that you're securely attached. Okay. If you have any questions, first of all, you can just leave a comment below. Also, we can personally talk. There's a link below the video. You can just sign up for a personal call with me, and it's a free call. We can just get to know each other. We can even build a strategy how you can develop a secure attachment style. This video is just a big picture video. I'm curious about who you are, what's your personality, what's your history, and then we can dig a little deeper and have more individualized action steps. So let's talk about that. It's still for free. And then afterwards we can talk about the possibility of moving forward together. And yeah, otherwise share the video with anybody else who you feel like is very avoidant in their attachment style. You never know who might actually profit from that. And I wish you a beautiful day.